Okay, now we go to the American period. So we've finished the pre-colonial Philippines and then the Spanish era. That's the longest period kasi since BC's yung pre-colonial Philippines, and then 1521 we were colonized by the Spain until 1898. So again, more than 300 years yung sinuffer ng country natin from uh, the Spaniards. And then after makawala sa Spaniards, hello USA. We really did not have any break that time. Kasi nga, binenta tayo sa USA ng Treaty of Paris. Okay, next slide please. So again, si Emilio Aguinaldo negotiated with the Americans para para tulungan nila tayo para makawala tayo sa Spaniards. Kaso hindi niya alam na doon pala sa Treaty of Paris, ang usapan ay hindi pagpapakawala ng Philippines but pagbebenta ng Philippines to the United States. And then we declared our Biak na ba to, the first Philippine Republic, and then but afterwards sabi ng USA, no, you're under us now. So medyo, again, the great anime betrayal between the US and Emilio Aguinaldo, na si Emilio Aguinaldo was very, very supportive of the US that time, na maging tayo grateful sa mga Amerikano, tinulungan nila tayo, but yun, ganun yun nangyari. So, then we started our Filipino-American War. Okay? So, again, it started February 4th, 1899. Okay, when an American shot Filipino mga katipuneros during that time. Next slide please. So, ganito yung itsura before. I'm sure you've watched some of the shows. Ito yung dito unang binaril yung Pilipino. They ambushed the Filipino soldiers, which started the actual Filipino-American War. Next slide, please. Okay. So, ito si Ambet Ocampo is one of the more popular historians right now in the country. Again, medyo marami lang siyang kaaway lagi kasi the problem with history is no one can actually tell you what really happened except yung mga nabuhay during that time. And wala na ngayong existing na buhay during that time. So we can only check the books, we can only check records and photos and then try to make sense of what happened. And yun nga, so galit yung mga historians sa isa't isa pag hindi nagmamatch yung mga ideas nila. Next slide, please. So, the Filipino-American War is basically started or ignited by the Pulahanes movement. Next slide, please. So, from Bacolod, finorce nila na isurrender si Papa Isyo, which is our parang somewhat religious leader natin and political leader on his own. Pinasurrender siya sa Americans. And then ang question is, bakit kung Filipino leader siya? Next slide, please. And then, again, that because of the propaganda movement from the Spanish times, dito sa American occupation, gumamit na rin tayo ng literature to evoke nationalist feelings towards our fellow Filipinos. Next slide, please. So, ulit lang to, yun nga, si Emilio Aguinaldo, nagpatulong siya sa mga Americans. Please help us. Gusto na namin makaalis sa Spaniards. Tulungan mo kami. Nag-agree yung US, pero hindi sinama si Emilio Aguinaldo sa Paris nung nag-uusap sila. And then hindi alam ni Emilio Aguinaldo na binenta pala ng Spain ang Philippines sa United States. Next slide please. But yes, so again, pinayagan mag-declare ng biyak na bato republic si Emilio Aguinaldo, pero nagkaroon din ng military government yung US here in the Philippines. So yun. If you know, kung naalala nyo si MacArthur, ayan, si Arthur MacArthur, ang mga ruling class during that time. Ang weird ng photo though kasi ang layo. 1934 pa yan. So para lang sa kaalaman ng lahat, ang 1934, nagkaroon tayo ng batas which is Tidings-McDuffie Law or Tidings-McDuffie Act. Itong Tidings-McDuffie Act is one of the controversial laws of the Philippines kasi supposed to be sinasabi ng US na pinapakawalan na namin kayo pero trial period lang muna. Andito pa rin kami. And under the Tidings-McDuffie Law, lahat ng mga Americans has the same right to the natural resources of the Philippines. So ibig sabihin, kahit Amerikano ka, pwede ka pa rin magmina ng gold here in the Philippines pero sa iyo as an American. Kasi supposed to be, if meron kang makuha gold sa Philippines, it's Filipino-owned. But under the Tidings-McDuffie Act, yan yung sinabi nila na, sige, pwede na namin kayo pakawalan, pero dito muna kami ha. Tsaka kung anong mahahanap nyo dito, kesyo fish, kesyo puno, pwede namin kunin yan as Americans. Yan yung laman ng Tidings-McDuffie Act. Kaya medyo weird na yan yung nakalagay na picture. But next slide, please. Okay, so basically here in the Philippines, yung government or yung the rule of the Americans was usually called commissions because they are again shipped from the US towards the Philippines. So yan yung may first Philippine Commission na nagrekomenda ng how to rule the government. Sabi ng Commission Sherman noong 1899 na hindi ready ang Philippines to rule on its own. That's why we have to rule them. Which is again just an excuse. Kasi binili na nga nila tayo sa Spain nung Treaty of Paris. Ginagawa lang nilang legitimate yung kanilang claim over us. So the next is the Commission Taft, the Second Philippine Commission. So this is how the government was created. So the Taft Commission was the one who served as our Congress or Senate during this time, and then they created the laws following the American laws. So ayan, yung Taft dyan is the same person who is named in the Taft Avenue. So again, weirdly, sinakop nila tayo tapos ginamit pa natin silang name ng roads to, I don't know. Anyway, next slide please. Ayan, so that's Taft of the Taft Commission, si William Howard Taft. Then siya yung first civil governor. So from Governor General during the Gobernador General nung time ng Spaniards, we go to the civil governor. From the Second American Commission na nagsabi na hindi tayo ready i-rule yung country natin. So sila na lang muna. Okay? And then dyan din kay William Howard Taft nag-start na separate yung Congress sa lower house and upper house. Yung from House of Representatives, dito yung mga common persons, and then merong Senate na mas mataas dun sa normal people. Na pwedeng baliktarin yung sinasabi ng normal people. Pero mafe-feel nyo daw na pwede kayong sumali sa paggawa ng batas kasi merong House of Representatives. Pero pwede kayong baliktarin ng higher house which is formed by Americans. Okay, next slide please. So yan. Throughout the occupation of the United States here in the Philippines, lagi nilang sinasabi na, well, hindi namin kayo sinasakop tinutulungan lang namin kayo makabangon. And then di kayo marunong so kami muna. basically ganun at ganun lang paulit-ulit yung sinasabi nila sa atin. So ayan, ang dami nating mga Treaty of Freedom or Law of Freedom here in the Philippines dahil yun nga yung kanilang script when they occupied the Philippines. And then mention ko na kanina yung Tidings-McDuffie Law. Diyan nag-start yung ating Commonwealth government na again, hanggang ngayon hinahanap pa rin nating lahat kung nasaan ang Commonwealth. Kasi kung meron kayo pa-share naman para maging common ang Commonwealth. Okay, next slide please. So, here we go. So, dahil sabi ng US, sige na, finally with the Tidings-McDuffie Act, papayagan na namin kayo. I-try nyo na kayo na. Try nyo na kayo na yung mag-lead ng country nyo. Pero nandito pa rin kami hindi pa rin kami aalis dito Tsaka same rights pa rin kami ng Filipinos So, nagkaroon ng Tidings-McDuffie Law, pinayagan tayo magkaroon ng Commonwealth government. So, yan yung transition na sige, magre-ready na kayo, pwede na kayong mag-start maging on your own. Basta pwede pa rin namin i-abuse yung resources nyo. Kaya lang, while the Commonwealth government was starting on its own, pumutok naman yung World War II sa buong mundo. Next slide, please. And so medyo maiksi yung naging Commonwealth government natin. Just wala pang 10 years halos kasi World War II started 41. So yun, nag-start with Manuel L. Quezon, tapos naging Sergio Osmeña na president eventually. Next slide please. So yan, okay, next slide. So yeah, aside from the Tidings-McDuffie Law, nagkaroon din ng Hair Horse Cutting Act. Ito naman ay yung Hair Horse Cutting Act, yan yung original dapat na version ng Tidings-McDuffie na pinapakawalan na nila yung Philippines talaga. Kaya lang ayaw nung president ng US that time, si President Hoover of the United States, vinito niya yung Hair Horse Cutting Act. Kasi nga, bakit daw papakawalan agad? Dapat i-guide pa nila tayo paano magkaroon ng government kasi hindi tayo marunong Yung mga kawawa naman yung Philippines, di sila marunong mag-government. Kaya tuturuan pa natin sila. And when you see our current government and the news nowadays, parang may point naman pala talaga sila. But yeah, next slide please. Okay, so this is where we start our formal government that we still use now. We Republican and the presidential type. Republican meaning one government for the whole compared to federal. So Republican is one central government. Yung federal is kagaya ng sa United States, meron silang national government and separate governments per state. And then we have a presidential type of government. We elect a president. And then during this time, nagkaroon na tayo ng unicameral na National Assembly pero ginawa rin siyang bicameral ulit. So because again, di pa rin tayo naniniwala sa representatives of the people so kailangan may higher house. Okay? And then dito na rin nag-start na magkaroon tayo ng Supreme Court. And actually, this is one of the periods ng pinakaunang, or hindi naman pinakauna, pero yung constitution na up until now is inaaral nating mabuti, which is the 1935 Constitution from the results of the Tidings-McDuffie Act. Next slide, please. So yun, sabi ko nga, 1935, nagkaroon ng 1935 Constitution, nag-start ang Commonwealth government, pero wala pang 6 years, sinakop naman tayo ng mga Japanese. So, mga anime fans, this is your period, but this is a terrible period for the Philippines. Next slide, please. Kahit 4 years lang yan. Okay? So, December 8, 1941, The US bombed the Pearl Harbor, then so this is one of the first use of a nuclear weapon or weapon of mass destruction. And dahil sa galit ng Japanese, sinugod nila yung mga American allies. And sino ang isa sa mga pinakamalapit na American allies? Yung sinasakop ng Americans, which is the Philippines. So sumugod sila dito. They targeted our ports and they targeted yung mga areas na kung nasaan yung mga major government sites of the Philippines. So that's Davao, Clark, Baguio, and syempre Manila. And then si December 26, 1941, si Gerald Douglas MacArthur, siya ang general ng Manila. Binuksan yung City of Manila kasi pag hindi mo binuksan, bobombahin ka, then mas marami mamamatay. So binuksan na lang niya. Next slide, please. So yan. Again, the Japanese forces attack through waters. So yung mga kanyon nila, makikita niyo yan. Kaya yung Intramuros na katabi ng ating customs, ng ating ports, yung binobomba nila before. So para lang hindi na masira yung Intramuros and Manila in general, sabi ni Douglas MacArthur, just open the gates, hayaan nyo na sakupin tayo kaysa masira yung infrastructure. Next slide, please. Yan. And then from 1941, December, January, yan na, pumasok na sila. Ito na yung famous na MacArthur. So please, pag i-separate nyo ha, si Arthur MacArthur ay legislator or government person. Si Douglas MacArthur, siya yung governor dati ng Manila na nagsabi ng I shall return. Okay? And then, because of that, again, panic na naman yung mga Pinoy. Kakatapos lang natin sa Spaniards, tapos United States, papakulan tayo ng United States, subingit naman tong Japanese. Sobrang bilis natin nakapag-establish ng armed force against the Japanese, which is the Hukbalahap or Hukbong Bayan laban sa Hapon. Si Luis Taruc ang nag-umpisa, but during this time, kung hindi kasing ganda yung ating military equipment kasi nga hindi tayo pinayagan ng United States magkaroon ng sarili nating equipment to fight. So medyo guerrilla warfare sila. Pag sinabing guerrilla warfare, yung mga ambush here and there, yung magnanakaw sila ng mga supplies from the opposing parties. So yun, medyo Tapos shock na shock dito yung mga Japanese kasi ang galing ng mga Filipino sa guerrilla warfare na bigla na lang biglang darating, hindi mo alam saan nanggaling, tapos mawawala sa forest. So until now, yung United States Army, until 2026, yung United States Army, they train here with our Philippine military ng guerrilla tactics because again, yun yung expertise natin. So, April 9, 1942, sumuko ang pwersa sa Bataan sa ilalim ni General Edward King. Sinimulan ng Bataan Death March mula Mariveles, Bataan hanggang Capas, Tarlac. So, again, same pa rin as before because we are an archipelago. Per region or per province yung pagsakop. And April 9, 1942 is an important date because ito yung Death March or Bataan Death March kung saan yung mga soldiers tinanggalan ng mga sapatos tapos pinaglakad mula Bataan hanggang Tarlac. I don't know how far that is from each other but I know it's far. Tapos di sila binigyan ng food, di sila binigyan ng water, walang sapatos, with all the heat, and then pinagmarcha lang sila. Okay, and then the Corregidor is an island na may military installation before, and then Pag pumunta kayo sa Corregidor, it's a fun place to be. Please try to visit it kasi ang dami nating historical areas there. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, again, just photos of our leaders at saka yung mga Japanese occupants here in the Philippines. Next slide, please. Okay, so weird. But anyway, during World War I, the Commonwealth government functioned in exile in Washington. So meron tayong, the Commonwealth government pa rin sila ay tumakas at pumunta sa US. Tapos sinasabi nila na nirule pa rin namin yung Philippines under a Commonwealth government pero nandito kami sa United States. Okay? And then bumalik lang ulit si I shall return General 3 years after 1945. Tapos binalik niya na yung Commonwealth government under Osmeña. And then the 1935 Constitution was continued here in the country. Again, the Japanese occupation is just a very, very short, almost 3 years plus lang yan kasi December na ng 1941 nag-start to 1945. Next slide, please. So, ayan, actually yung kanina World War II yun ha. Error lang siguro, na typo lang siguro. Okay? And then nagkaroon, but again, sabi ganito nga kasi nangyari. So nag-establish tayo ng Philippine Commonwealth noong 1935 from the 1935 Constitution. Tapos nung sinakop yung Philippines noong 1942, tumakas yung Philippine Commonwealth government sa United States na sinasabi nila na, oh, we're still the ruling power sa Philippines kahit wala kami sa Philippines. Pero to establish order here in the country, nagkaroon ng Japanese government. Kasi para sabihin, kasi ang battle cry ng Japan when they occupied Asian countries nung World War II is the Asians should rule Asia. So ayaw nila nung Commonwealth government kasi that's a joke, big joke daw for them kasi that's just Americans ruling an Asian country. So sabi nila Asia should rule Asia. So nagtayo sila ng sarili nilang government here habang nasa United States yung Philippine Commonwealth na nirurule yung Philippines. But here in the Philippines, they started an executive commission led by Jorge Vargas, which is also one of the most important na cultural person natin sa dami ng mga cultural pieces na kinuha niya or dinala niya sa Philippines. And then nagkaroon ng puppet government, which is Jose Laurel as our president in 1943. Okay? So during this time, may dalawa tayong presidente, which is si Osmeña, doon, tas dito si Laurel. Okay? And then, ayan, sorry, tama pala. During that time, si Quezon pa, pero namatay kasi siya doon bago bumalik. So pagbalik niya, yung vice president na si Osmeña yung naging president. Okay? So, karoon tayo ng Second Republic under Jose P. Laurel. Tapos, yan na, bumalik si MacArthur, ayan na siya. He returned but with an American army to force the Japanese occupants to leave the Philippines. Next slide, please. Ayan. Okay. So again, this is one of our bayani from the Japanese period. Next slide, please. Jose Abad Santos. But I don't think that's part of your exam, so huwag na natin discuss, masyado mahaba. Next slide, please. And then, yun nga. So, the First Republic is the Commonwealth in 1935 na si Manuel Quezon ang president. Hindi ko sure kung sa coins na 20 siya pa rin ba, pero sa bills na 20 si Manuel L. Quezon yun. And then, nagkaroon ng Second Republic under Jose P. Laurel. na puppet government ng Japanese, while in the United States namatay si Quezon. So si Sergio Osmeña, who's the vice president, came back and held the position of the president, and that's the Third Republic. Okay, next slide please. Ayan, so July 4, 1946, nagkaroon ng Philippine-American Friendship Day. And then we started celebrating Philippine-American Friendship Day. But basically, July 4 is the day we actually got our freedom from the United States. Tinawag lang nating Friendship Day, pero yun yung time na pinakawalan nila tayo. Okay, next slide please. So yan, we commemorate it so much because finally wala nang foreign occupants sa Philippines. From our history. Imagine niyo guys, 1946 yan. That is less than 100 years from us. If you think about it, tama ba? Kasi 2046. Yes, less than 100 years pa lang po tayong nakalaya sa mga sa mga occupants natin. Less than 200 years pa lang tayo, tama ba? Ay, hindi. 205 years, 1898. So, less than 200 years pa lang tayo nakalaya sa Spaniards. Less than 100 years pa lang tayong nakalaya from the Americans. Masyado pang bata yung country natin. And you can see it because napaka-immature ng mga nasa national government natin ngayon, di ba? Next slide, please. So, again, 1946 is the actual full... Again, tingnan nyo 1945 nila tayo pinakawalan. Pero inantay pa nila yung July 4 bago tayo actual napakawalan. Kasi July 4 din yung Independence Day ng United States. So, gusto nilang isabay yung Independence Day nila sa Philippine Friendship Day natin. So, hinold pa nila tayo even if nakawala na tayo sa Spaniards noong 1945 pa lang. Anyway, so we had our new political leaders na sila Manuel Rojas, Elpidio Quirino, Ramon Magsaysay, Carlos P. Garcia, at Diosdado Macapagal. All became Philippine politicians. Then we tried to recover from what the Japanese did to us kasi they really destroyed much of our critical infrastructure here in the Philippines, yung mga ospital, yung mga government centers, yan yung sinira ng Japanese para mag-stop yung government, para madaling masakop yung country. The problem is yung Hukbalahap, the Hukbong Bayan laban sa Hapon who are warriors on their own rights, and yun lang yung alam nilang gawin, nag-isilang armed power against the government kahit hindi na Hapon yung government. Okay, next slide please. So, ayan, nagkaroon tayo ng treaty na ito yung mga nasakop ng Japan with the Europeans. So, nagkaroon ng SEATO, which is basically we're copying the NATO, the North American Trade Organization. Nagkaroon naman ng SEATO. Which is weird kasi may France, may United States at United Kingdom na wala naman sa Southeast Asia. Okay, next slide please. Now we go to a more recent period in our history, the Marcos era and the martial law. Again, this should have its own section because this is one of the most important historical event in our recent history. This lasted from 1965 to 1986. Next slide, please. So Ferdinand Marcos first became president in 1965 and then re-elected in 1969. During that time, there is a provision in the Constitution that you can be re-elected as president, but the terms were just 4 years. Unlike now that we have a 6-year term and just one term. Okay, so 6 years period and 1 term now. Before, it was a 4-year period, but you can be re-elected. And then, when the elections were supposed to continue in 1973. Yes, 1973, before the 1973 elections, President Marcos before Senior, or President Marcos Senior, declared martial law in 1972 through Proclamation number 1081. Next slide, please. Okay. So again, as I mentioned earlier, he was president 1965 and then re-elected 1969. And before he was supposed to say goodbye to the presidency, he declared martial law in through Proclamation number 1081. What he did was to abolish Congress. He closed the legislative parts of our government, and then he took the legislative powers under the presidency. Okay? During that time, ito po yung mga batas natin na batas pambansa or presidential decree. Meron po tayong mga batas na hindi Republic Act but presidential decree and batas pambansa because that's the time that the president was exercising legislative powers. Next slide, please. Okay. The dictatorship of former President Marcos or President Marcos Sr. ended in 1986. But one of the main reasons why the revolution or the EDSA revolution sparked was because Ninoy Aquino was assassinated 3 years before. When he was assassinated in August 21, 1983 in NAIA. That time it's not called NAIA yet, but in our airport, this triggered or ignited the nationalist feelings of our Filipino countrymen, which eventually led to the EDSA revolution. Next slide, please. Okay, so on February 7, 1986, because people were already trying to call for the removal of President Marcos Sr., he called for a snap election. A snap election is a not scheduled election. Biglaan, kaya nga siya snap. This was supposed to legitimize former President Marcos Sr.'s rule. Kasi nga, sobrang tagal na niya eh. So para ma-legitimize, para masabi lang na siya pa rin talaga naman yung gusto ng mga tao na maging presidente, nag-call siya ng snap elections. And during that time, si Marcos was running for president, Arturo Tolentino was running for vice president. Ang kalaban is Corazon Aquino and Salvador Laurel. But during the snap elections, there were blatant cheating in the voting. Tinatago yung mga ballot box, hindi nakaboto yung mga tao, which eventually, again, triggered the hearts of the Filipino people, which led to a revolution na ginawa nila sa Epifanio de los Santos Avenue or EDSA, which eventually is called the EDSA Revolution. Kaya lang, as of 2026, meron ng 3 or claim nila 4 daw na EDSA Revolution, so medyo nawala na siya ng value. The EDSA 1 is the only EDSA that has significant value. EDSA 2 is okay because we also removed the president there. EDSA 3 has nothing. I don't really believe there was an EDSA 4. Okay, next slide, please. So yeah, in 1972, after nag-declare ng martial law si former President Marcos Sr., gumawa siya ng sarili niyang constitution. Kasi again, if you are establishing order, the first thing you do is to create a constitution or create a law. And under the 1973 Constitution, sobrang daming loopholes to abuse human rights. Okay? Para pala sa kaalaman ng mga karamihan, the reason why President Marcos declared a martial law was, according to him, he was suppressing lawless violence because during that time, marami daw mga active na armed rebels in our country. Plus, nagkaroon ng one of the famous bombings, or at least kaguluhan sa Plaza Miranda, where people from all sides of the political spectrum were meeting, and then nagkaroon ng bombing. So that's the trigger of, or that's the reason why former President Marcos Sr. declared martial law, according to him. Okay? So yeah, there was a 1973 constitution but just really that constitution was created to justify the martial law of former President Marcos Sr. Okay, and then again nagkaroon ng February 6 snap election, sobrang dayaan ng snap elections. Pagkatas ng mga tao na makitang dinadaya yung botohan nila, they went to EDSA, they gathered in EDSA. And since EDSA is our main thoroughfare throughout the whole Metro Manila, when people crowded EDSA, Metro Manila stopped functioning, and everyone went there, and wala nang choice si former President Marcos Sr. but to run to Hawaii. Okay, next slide please. So para po lang alam ninyo, since you're still kids, para sa mga nagsasabi na walang negative effects ang martial law sa Philippines, in the first effect is economic effect, which created a huge inflation in the country. The price of the goods tripled during the time, kaya sobrang mahal ng mga bilihin natin. It started during the martial law era. Okay, next slide please. Okay, ang cry for ang motto ni former President Marcos Sr. is basically to fight for Filipino supremacy. Kaya the nationalistic feelings, yan yung pinaglalaban nila before, Filipino first. And so parang ang point niya before ay we are leaders not just here but also abroad because of our OFWs. And eventually supposed to be yung mga OFWs babalik dito para dito mag-serve. Next slide please. Okay, and then when he was ousted, so again, yung third republic natin is first is yung Commonwealth, and then second is the Japanese period, and then third is pagbalik ng Americans sa Philippines after the Japanese occupation. We claim na ang fourth is the martial law era, but that's really not a republic, that's a dictatorship, but that's the fourth. And then after natin ma-oust si former President Marcos Sr., we now go to the fifth republic, which is headed by none other than our former President Corazon Aquino. Next slide please. Ayan. So Corazon Aquino, former President Corazon Aquino, before everything, is just according to is the wife of Ninoy Aquino. But because namatay si Ninoy Aquino, which was the strongest political rival of former President Marcos Sr., si Corazon Aquino or si Cory ang naging face ng EDSA Revolution. And during his period, sobrang daming coup d'etat attempts against her because again, no one in the military, or at least the military, does not believe na she is fit to be president. Because yun nga, nagkataon na siya lang yung asawa ni Ninoy Aquino na pinatay. And then siya na yung naging president bigla. Okay? Next slide please. And then, okay, so 1990 ako pinanganak, so buhay na ako nung time na to, may malay na ako nung time na to. The next president after Cory Aquino is Fidel Ramos, or Fidel V. Ramos, or most commonly called FVR. Dito si Fidel V. Ramos was formerly the head of the PNP during the time of the Marcos, pero bumaliktad siya, kumampi siya kay Cory Aquino, and then became the person na ninominate ni President Cory Aquino to replace her as the president of the Philippines. This is the time that we were recovering from everything. Nagkaroon tayo ng sobrang daming treaties with other countries, and ang dami rin natin mga rebel groups na napasuko during the time of Fidel Ramos. That's 1992 to 1998. Next slide, please. And then we have a very short-lived president, 3 years lang, si President Joseph Estrada, or ERAP Estrada, former action star turned mayor turned politician president. He was, according to the official declaration of the Supreme Court, he resigned. But the main reason was nagkaroon ng EDSA 2 noong 2001 because of the blatant corruption kasama yung mga wetting money allegations against him. And then nagkaroon ng expose. Ang whistleblower ay si Chavit Singson na tumatanggap ng wetting money si former President Estrada. Nagalit yung mga tao. Nagkaroon ng EDSA 2, natanggal siya noong 2001. And then na-convict siya for plunder. Ibig sabihin, sigurado yung mga courts na guilty siya ng plunder. Kaya lang pinardon ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Pardon means pinapatawad na siya sa lahat ng kasalanan niya sa Philippines. Next slide, please. And then we have a weirdly long presidency under former President GMA, or Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, because nung naalis si former President Estrada sa presidency, former President GMA is the vice president. So she ascended to the presidency, and then afterwards, nung 2004, kung kailan dapat matatapos si former President Estrada, tumakbo ulit siyang presidente. Okay? Dito nagkaroon na ng I don't think buhay na kayo nito, but nagkaroon ng mga several issues kasi nung 2004 na siya yung president, tumawag siya sa isang COMELEC commissioner or COMELEC officer na si Garciliano, tas yung tawag niya ay Garci, so kaya nagkaroon ng Hello Garci scandal because she as the president was asking for status of the elections from a COMELEC officer. Yan. And then si former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was an economist, so ang focus niya talaga is how to improve yung economy of the Philippines. Okay? Next slide, please. And then we have Noynoy Aquino, the son of Corazon Aquino. So again, babalik na naman tayo dun sa isa sa mga original concepts natin na diniscuss earlier, which was dynasties. So this is an example of it when someone, your son or daughter or family member rise to power because of your family. Si Noynoy Aquino, or si President Noynoy Aquino, na he's dead now, but ang argument niya before was siya ang daang matuwid, the not corrupt person, anti-corruption yung kanyang call to presidency. And then, weirdly, yung nanay niya nanalong president dahil namatay si Ninoy Aquino na asawa. Siya naman nanalong president after immediately mamatay yung nanay niya, which is si Cory Aquino. Okay, next slide please. And then, one of the most controversial presidents of our country, I'm sure ito medyo familiar na kayo, naabutan nyo na ito, si former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte or PRRD, served from 2016 to 2022, and then he is known because of his foul mouth and his war on drugs na currently spending in the International Criminal Court. Dito, all of our presidents after the occupation of the United States here in the countries are staunch allies of the United States, but President Rodrigo Roa Duterte shifted differently, mas close siya sa China than other Western countries. And then, yun, kasama dun sa controversy, he withdrew from the International Criminal Court kasi sabi nga ng mga tao nung nakaupo siya, kakasuhan daw siya sa International Criminal Court. So nag-withdraw siya sa International Criminal Courts. And then nag-focus siya sa pag-build ng mga infrastructure programs under the country through the Build program. And then under President Duterte also nagkaroon tayo ng bagong tax code, which is the Train Law, which taxed a lot of our consumer goods. Ayan. Next slide, please. And so, hindi pa nakalagay dito kasi we're still living through it, but we now have, sana alam nyo, we have a president which is the son of the former dictator Marcos Sr., the junior, Marcos Jr., Bongbong Marcos. He sat to 2022 and then he will leave his post in 2028. Okay? So we're done with the presidents. Sobrang dami pang kwento per president but we don't have time for that. We now go to the major government departments na you need to know. Because you are Filipinos. Again, these are the agencies, national government agencies that you can go to, you can report, or you can ask for services. Okay, so as of today, meron na yung 18 executive departments. So yun yung mga department of blank, hindi basta office, kasi buong department sila. Okay? And then very specific yung powers ng each of the departments. Depende sa kung ano yung focus ng kanilang departments. Next slide, please. So we start with the Department of Agrarian Reform or DAR. Please do not confuse this with the Department of Agriculture. Department of Agrarian Reform is basically yung department na dapat naghati-hati ng mga lupang tinataniman sa mga farmers. So it started as early as the martial law period. Hanggang ngayon hindi pa rin nila natatransfer yung mga lupa sa mga farmers. Ayan. Next slide please. So this is the Department of Agriculture. Ito naman ang ginagawa naman nila is they assist the farmers, not just farmers but fisher folks. Basically everything that deals with agriculture, including animals. Yan ha. So chicken, pork, beef, ducks, and all other agricultural products na nabibili natin sa palengke. Okay, next slide please. Department of Budget and Management. So ito po ang equivalent sa paano ba? Ito po ang nag-aayos ng kung ano ang pagkakagastusan ng ating gobyerno. So, this department determines kung saan ilalagay yung pera ng government per year. And then, sila yung nag-ensure na yung pera ng gobyerno ay ginagastos ng maayos. Okay, next slide please. Department of Education. So, Department of Education is the main department for all educational needs. Kaya lang meron po tayong Commission on Higher Education that focuses on the college level. So, medyo nag-focus si Department of Education sa high school pababa. Okay, next slide please. So, we have the Department of Energy which focus on everything related to fuel and power. So ating kuryente, gasolina is under DOE. Hopefully we start moving to renewable sources of energy. But basically anything related to power, energy, fuel goes under the Department of Energy. Next slide, please. Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So this is, again, separate niyo po siya sa Department of Agriculture. Ang Department of Agriculture ay nagdi-deal with anything na may human intervention sa pagtatanim, sa pag-aalaga ng mga hayop para kainin. Yun po yung Department of Agriculture. Department of Environment and Natural Resources, medyo mas malaki yung scope nila. Scope nila yung tubig, scope nila yung water, tubig at water. So scope nila yung tubig, scope nila yung lupa, scope nila yung basically natural resources nga siya. So hindi pa siya masyadong ginagalaw ng humans, mga forest, yan, under ng DENR. Okay? And hindi, usually pag DENR, hindi siya for consumption, hindi siya for food consumption. Okay? Next slide please. So the Department of Finance, okay, so kung kanina si Department of Budget and Management, siya yung nagsasabi paano gagastusin yung pera para may ayos. Si Department of Finance, yung paano mo kukunin yung pera papunta sa gobyerno. Paano magkakaroon ng funding yung government na iaayos ng Department of Budget and Management. So under the Department of Finance, nandiyan yung BIR, andyan yung customs na usually nagtatax sa atin. Okay? Next slide, please. So we also have the Department of Foreign Affairs. The Department of Foreign Affairs is basically deals with anything that is about the Philippines and Filipinos abroad. So pag yung mga kumukuha po ng passport, yung mga lalabas ng bansa, sa DFA nyo po yan kukunin. But again, general po ito. Hindi masyadong counted ang OFW sa DFA. Mas general ito and deals with our relationship with other countries. Next slide, please. So, Department of Health. So, based on the name, dyan po ang ating lahat ng mga government facilities, how to manage. Sila rin po ang, I'm sure buhay na kayo noon, sana, or ano. Pero nung time ng pandemic, sila rin ang leading agency that deals with how we handled the COVID-19 pandemic and all other major health concerns. DOH po yan. Next slide, please. Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. So ito po ay basically kung paano i-improve yung ating mga syudad. Pero actually kasi pinagsama-sama tong agency na nagfo-focus before sa housing. So now pinagsama-sama na siya. If kunwari po kayo ay nakatira sa subdivision or kayo ay nakatira sa basically pag meron kayong homeowners association, dyan po kayo pupunta sa DSUD. And then yung mga pabahay natin na para sa mga less fortunate like for PH, dyan po yan sa DSUD ina-address. Okay, next slide please. So the Department of the Interior and Local Government. Please note po, of the Interior yan, hindi Department of Interior. Department of the Interior and Local Government. Bakit the Interior? Kasi po, ginaya lang natin yan sa Western concept na meron silang concept ng government for the interior and government for the exterior. So ang government for the exterior natin ay DFA, ang government for the interior natin is DILG, but it focuses on the local governments, province, munisipyo, cities, barangays. So diyan din po under, technically diyan din po under ang inyong fire, ang inyong police at ang inyong mga kulungan. Okay? Next slide, please. So the Department of Justice is basically who handles anything we need na medyo legal in nature. So yan po ang general na agency pagka kailangan ng legal opinions from the government. Diyan po yan. Also, diyan po sa DOJ, so kanina sa DILG, meron silang mga kulungan. Yun yung mga local na kulungan nyo, yung mga detention center. Okay? Pag sa DOJ, kapag na-convict na sila or pag napatunayan na sila ng korte na may kasalanan, so dito na po yung mga habang buhay kinukulong, under na po yun ng DOJ. Diyan din po sa DOJ ang inyong mga fiscal prosecutors. And then meron din po silang investigative powers under the NBI. Na again, sikat na sikat ulit nowadays. Next slide please. Department of Labor and Employment. So ito naman po, anything tungkol sa trabaho ninyo sa private company. So as long as kayo po ay either trabahante or employee or kayo po ay employer or business owners, dole po ang kakausapin ninyo pagtungkol sa rights at responsibilities ng mga empleyado at mga nag-e-employ. Next, we have the Department of Migrant Workers. Again, kagaya nga po nasabi ko kanina, general ang DFA. So, ang DFA goes for the general parts ng relationship ng countries with other countries and pag-issue ng mga passport. Pero pag mga OFW, specific po ang takbo sa Department of Migrant Workers. So anything related po sa OFWs, yung mga OFW natin na pinapauwi because of war in the other countries, or yung mga OFW po na nakakasuhan abroad, lahat po yan through the Department of Migrant Workers. Ito po ay isang bagong agency lang na itinayo, I think, during the time of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Next slide, please. And then we have the Department of National Defense. So dito naman po, syempre alam natin yung ating Armed Forces of the Philippines. Diyan din po ang Navy, diyan din po ang Coast Guard, diyan din po ang ating Air Force. But basically, pag Department of National Defense, ibig sabihin ang pinoprotektahan nila ay nation or ang ating bansa, ang kalaban ay nasa labas. Okay? So sa DILG po ang PNP kasi ang kalaban ay nasa loob, mga tao sa loob. Pagka kalaban ay nasa labas, DND na po yan. Okay? Next slide please. Sa DND pala kasama rin yung mga Abu Sayyaf group, yung mga MILF, MNLF na armed forces kasi technically outside pa rin sila ng gobyerno. Okay, next we have one of the famous agencies, the Department of Public Works and Highways. Kalsada, tulay, eskwelahan, flood control, lahat po yan ay under DPWH. So basically, pag meron po tayong pinatayo na kailangan sementohin at dapat tumagal ng ilang taon, DPWH po ang gumagawa. Usually here in our municipality, kapag po major roads yan or national roads, DPWH po ang may jurisdiction. Hindi po munisipyo ang may jurisdiction kapag major roads. So, even yung Barkadahan Bridge natin is under DPWH and not the municipal government. Okay, next slide please. DOST, Department of Science and Technology. This is a special agency because um, this is where we focus our research at kung saan tayo nag-innovate. Ang trabaho po ng DOST is to try and bring us to the future that we want to go to. Kasi habang focus lahat ng mga departments sa pag-ayos ng ano yung nangyayari ngayon, DOST is one of the agencies who focus ano yung mangyayari in the future. So anything from research to yung pag-asa po natin, yung weather natin is under DOST, the FIVOX or yung volcanology agency natin is under the DOST. Next slide please. And then we have the Department of Social Welfare and Development. So ito naman po ay basically, kung di nyo alam, yan po ay pinanggagalingan ng majority ng ating mga ayuda. Okay? So pero marami naman po silang programs din na iba na supposed to be para umangat sa ang kabuhayan ng mga taong nasa laylayan. So meron po silang mga programs for disaster relief, children, women, senior citizens, PWDs. So yan po ang DSWD. Next slide please. We have the Department of Tourism. So as the name implies, ang focus nila ay how to bring tourists here in the country, whether in-country tourists, meaning Filipinos going to different parts of the country. If you go to, for example, from Taytay, you go to Baguio, to La Union, to Cebu, you are tourists, you are local tourists. And then focus din natin ng foreign tourists kasi yan yung nagbibigay ng negosyo at pera sa mga localities natin. Next slide please. We also have the Department of Trade and Industry. Ito po ang nagfo-focus sa ating mga maliliit na negosyante, micro, small, medium enterprises. So usually lower yung scale nito kasi ang focus nila is payamanin yung mga maliliit na negosyante. Okay, next slide please. We also have the Department of Transportation. So again, as the name implies, lahat po ng everything related to your transportation, yan po ay under DOTR. DOTR din po ang nag-handle ng inyong airport, ng mga toll gate, ng ating MRT, LRT, at ating PNR. Under DOTR din po ang LTO na nag-i-issue ng inyong mga lisensya. So, kasama rin po dyan ang air travel, so mga eroplano, sea travel, ships at bangka, at syempre ang land travel. Wala pa namang ibang klaseng travel bukod doon sa tatlo, but kung magkakaroon man ng iba, under DOTR pa rin yan. Next slide please. Oh, okay. So that's the 18 major departments of our countries. We now go to the contemporary issues that we are facing right now. Actually, contemporary is a stretch. This is not a contemporary issue per se, but a historical issue kasi sobrang tagal na nito nag-umpisa, the Palestine and Israel conflict. Next slide, please. So one of the major conflicts around the world na binabantayan kasi baka maging cause ng World War III is the Israel and Palestine war or their conflict, no? Sobrang tagal na kasi ng pinanggalingan nila, time pa ni Jesus Christ. Ganong levels po yung kanilang away before Jesus Christ pa nga. So yan, pag nabasa nyo, kung nagbabasa po kayo ng Bible, magiging familiar kayo dun sa mga names ng the Canaan River, the Judea, and the Palestine, basically. So around 1,000 before Christ, nag-exist na yung Israel at Judah. Okay? Pero nagkaroon ng pananakop ng iba't ibang tribes ng Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greek, and Romans. So nahati-hati yung the Kingdom of Israel and the Judah, nahati-hati siya. And then pagkatapos maghati-hati, yung mga Jewish people or yung mga Israelites, lumaban sila sa mga kung sino-sinong nanakop sa kanila. And then ang nangyari, sobrang gulo na ng ano nila, hindi na nila alam kung saan sila babalik. Yun po ang pinanggalingan ng away nila. Kasi yung mga Israelites at Palestinians, hindi na nila alam which is which originally sa sobrang gulo. So nag-aaway sila ngayon kung kanino mapupunta yung mga lupa. And yun yung pinanggagalingan ng away nila. Next slide, please. Ayan. So, okay. So, basically, ito po ang mga other concepts under the Israel and Palestinian conflict. Meron po tayong different thinkings specifically pertaining to Jews. Para po sa kaalaman ng lahat, isa sa mga major conflicts ng World War II na doon lang nangyari, hindi kasi sa Asia nangyari, pero the Germans actually committed genocide or mass killings of the Jews. Okay, so again, yun nga, and then nagkaroon na ng mga iba't ibang saan babalik ang mga Jew, saan sila pupunta, and then pumupunta sila ngayon dun sa area ng Palestine. Which sabi ng Palestine, amin to, sabi ng Jews, kanila to. So ayan na po yung naging call ng gulo nila, no? So that's the source of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. Next slide, please. Okay, nung the Ottoman Empire collapsed, Britain took control of the British Mandate of Palestine, and then in 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration na nagsasabi na yung national home for the Jewish people, yung area ng Palestine. So basically, nanggulo na naman yung mga Westerners sa eastern areas. Kasi yun nga, after ng colonization ng iba't ibang grupo, so naghalo-halo na yung may mga Muslims na, Babylonians, Greeks, naghalo-halo na sila doon sa area. Tapos nakialam si British na sinabi na ito yung lugar ng mga Jews, which is Israel. So yun na, nagkagulo-gulo na sila kung saan sila pupunta. Next slide, please. And then, ayan na, nagkaroon ng dinivide na nila yung basically yung Palestine, dinivide nila into one Jewish state, one Arab state, and Jerusalem. Kung saan kung alam niyo po, diyan po ang ni Jesus Christ. So dahil hinati yung Palestine, nagkaroon ng one Jewish state, one Arab state, mas lalo ngayon umigting yung away nila. Kasi nga, syempre, yung mga Palestine, ayaw nila pumayag na hinati yung country nila. Yung mga Jews naman, sinasabi nila na yun yung promised land sa kanila. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so again, since time immemorial, they have been fighting. And then, so now, naghalo-halo na now Israel, the ally of the United States, took control of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Tas yung Palestine ngayon, mas nakakawawa na sila kasi wala silang ganun kalakas na allies like the United States. Okay? Next slide please. So since 1990s up to 2000s, the world attempted to put them together and have a peace treaty amongst themselves. Kaya lang, even if they tried, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung violence against each other. Kaya hindi pa rin nagkakaroon ng actual world peace dyan sa part ng Palestine and Israel. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, ito po yung isa sa mga pinagtatalunan, yung Gaza Strip na area. Ayan, makikita nyo naman po merong part dyan. na sinasabi na yun yung ang Gaza Strip natin na pinagtatalunan nila na area. So yeah, uh, pabasa na lang po siguro yung part na yan. Medyo, again, at as of this moment, yan yung current political landscape in the area, but it has changed all throughout the history of humankind na ngayon lang si Israel yung may hawak because Israel has stronger military powers right now because of the assistance of the United States. So yun, and currently, I think one of the more recent news about it is, alam nyo nga po na may recent bombings ang United States at Israel sa Iran and then still ongoing, hindi pa tapos ang war. And actually, it's not something na hindi tayo affected because we all know when the Gaza Strip was closed, walang makadaan yung area diyan, walang makadaan. So hindi makadating yung oil sa Philippines and then umakyat yung presyo ng gasolina natin, nag-almost times 3 just earlier this year. So it's not something na hindi tayo affected. So please, again, try to learn your history about this because even if hindi siya, kung hindi man siya matanong sa inyong exam, it's still important to know ano yung mga nangyayari sa mundo natin ngayon. Okay? I think, next slide please. That's the end of the contemporary issues. Ito lang po yung mga sources na ginamit natin throughout everything that was discussed during the lecture. And the photos din po, dyan din po, yun po yung mga sources po natin. So, ayun. It was a really crash course into your Philippine political and government history. But I sincerely hope that you've listened and endured the past 3 or 4 hours. I don't know kung ano yung magiging final nito. But learning your history is one of the best ways not to repeat your terrible history. Medyo cliched na siya na history repeats itself and then you should learn your history so that you don't get to repeat it. But as future leaders na magiging kayo in the future, as future academes, doctors, lawyers, engineers, soldiers, policemen, it's a good thing that you know your history because knowing your history really is knowing yourself. Kagaya nga nasabi ko kanina or ano man, you need to know kung sino kayo as people para walang makapagsabi sa inyo na hindi kayo ganon otherwise. So again, in behalf of the Smile Taytay Training Institute, in behalf of our Mayor Alan De Leon, our Vice Mayor JV Kabitak at ating mga konsehal, this is recorded in 2026. So for those of you who listened and endured this, good luck sa inyong mga exams. I'm already praying for you. And please, please, please learn your history and learn about your government para hindi tayo maging kahiya-hiya, not just here in our country but also abroad. Anything else? Any questions or concerns, please coordinate and communicate with the Smile Taytay Training Institute. And I guess this is my goodbye. Again, I'm Attorney Davin Mendoza, the current Municipal Administrator of Taytay Rizal. And this is me saying thank you to all of you and good luck.